So I'm going to actually go ahead and read this. And he says, for me, part of the loss of peak experiences was the loss of newness and novelty. As these poignant and emotional discharges died down in me, something else happened, which has come into my consciousness, which is a very precious thing. A sort of precipitation occurred of what might be called the sedimentation or the fallout from illuminations, insights, and other life experiences that were very important or tragic experiences included. The result has been a kind of unitive consciousness, which has certain advantages and certain disadvantages over the peak experiences. I can define this unitive consciousness very simply for me as the simultaneous perception of the sacred and the ordinary, or the miraculous and the ordinary, or the miraculous and the rather constant or easy without effort sort of thing. I now perceive under the aspect of eternity and become mythic, poetic, symbolic about ordinary things. There is nothing accepted and nothing special. But one lives in a world of miracles all the time. There's a paradox. Because it is miraculous, and yet it doesn't produce an autonomic burst. An autonomic burst you can think of that as basically your autonomic nervous system. So a burst of a rush sort of within your autonomic nervous system. This type of consciousness has certain elements in common with peak experiences: awe, mystery, surprise, and aesthetic shock. These elements are present, but are constant rather than climactic. Another aspect I've noticed is that it's possible to sit and look at something miraculous for an hour and enjoy every second of it. There are some other aspects of this experience. There tends to be more serenity rather than an emotionality. The important point that emerges from these plateau experiences is that they're essentially cognitive. As a matter of fact, almost by definition, they represent a witnessing of the world. The plateau experience is a witnessing of reality. It involves seeing the symbolic or the mythic, the poetic, the transcendent, the miraculous, the unbelievable, all of which I think are part of the real world instead of existing only in the eyes of the beholder. There is a sense of certainty about the plateau experience. It feels very, very good to be able to see the world as miraculous and not merely in the concrete, not reduced only to the behavioral, not limited to the here and now. These plateau experiences are described quite well in many literatures. This is not the standard description of the acute mystical experience, but the way in which the world looks if the mystical experience really takes. If your mystical experience changes your life, you go about your business as the great mystics did. You can run a grocery store and pay the bills, but still carry on this sense of witnessing the world in a way you did in the great moments of mystic perception. Another aspect of the experience is the confrontation with mortality. It can be very, very touching. This whole business of witnessing eternity means you are mortal, and your mortality produces a fear of the witnessing. It's happy and it's also sad. It's a mixture and very beautiful. It's just a kind of spontaneous exercise in hanging on to the moment because the moment is precious. Competition and life planning disappear. The dominance hierarchy, the competition, the competitiveness and glory certainly become foolish. There is certainly a shifting of values about what's basic and what's not basic, what's important and what's not important.